June 19, 1960, Paramount Studios, Hollywood, California. Stage 12. Elvis Presley walks onto the soundstage. He's 25 years old, filming GI Blues, just another day, or so he thinks. Then he sees her, Marilyn Monroe, standing 30 feet away, white dress, red lips, blonde hair catching the studio lights. She turns. Their eyes meet. What happens in the next 20 minutes will change everything Elvis believes about Hollywood, about fame, about the cost of being an icon. Here is the story. The soundstage is massive, 3 stories high, equipment everywhere. Cables snake across the floor. Crew members rush between setups. The smell of coffee and cigarettes hangs in the air. Elvis stands near the camera dolly. His costume, army uniform. Green, crisp, authentic. He's been wearing it for weeks, playing Tulsa McLean, a tank gunner in Germany, a role that feels safe, comfortable, controlled. Then the energy shifts. Everyone stops. Conversations pause mid-sentence. All eyes turn to one side of the stage. Elvis follows their gaze. Marilyn Monroe walks in, not alone. She's with director George Cukor. They're visiting from the adjacent stage. Let's Make Love is filming next door. Yves Montand is her co-star. But right now, she's here, in Elvis's world. Even from a distance, her presence fills the space. Not because she's loud, she isn't. Not because she demands attention. She doesn't need to. It's something else, something magnetic. Something Elvis recognizes, because he has it too. Director Norman Taurog notices Elvis watching. He walks over, puts a hand on Elvis's shoulder. "You want to meet her?" Elvis hesitates. His mind races. Of course he wants to meet her. Who wouldn't? But something holds him back. Fear? No. Elvis doesn't fear much. It's something deeper. An instinct. A warning. Finally he nods. Yeah. Sure. Taurog waves Marilyn over. She smiles. That smile, the one the whole world knows. But up close, it's different. Less performance, more real. She walks toward them. George Cukor follows. 3 feet away, 2 feet. She extends her hand. Her voice is soft, breathier than Elvis expected. "Hi, I'm Marilyn." Elvis takes her hand. Warm, small, delicate. Elvis. "But you knew that." She laughs, light, musical. "Everyone knows you, Elvis." They stand there, 2 of the biggest stars in the world, face to face. And for a moment, the entire soundstage fades away. Quick thought. Have you ever met someone famous and realized they were more human than you imagined? Drop a comment. The conversation starts simply. Small talk. "How's the shoot going?" "Good. Yours?" "Fine. Tiring." But beneath the surface, something else is happening. Recognition, not of fame, not of celebrity, but of something shared, something understood. Elvis sees it in her eyes. The exhaustion, the mask, the performance that never ends. Even here, in this private moment, she's performing. Not for him, for everyone watching, the crew, the director, the world that's always watching. And Elvis realizes something. He does the same thing. Every day, every moment, the smile, the charm, the "yes, sir," and "thank you, ma'am." It's all performance. All the time. George Cukor makes an excuse. Something about checking the lighting next door. He leaves. Norman Taurog takes the hint. He walks away. Suddenly, it's just Elvis and Marilyn, standing in the middle of a busy soundstage. Alone in a crowd. Marilyn speaks first. Her voice drops lower. The breathiness disappears. This is her real voice. "How do you do it?" Elvis doesn't understand. Do what? She looks around. Makes sure no one's close enough to hear. All of this, the fame, the expectations. How do you keep yourself? Elvis doesn't answer right away, because he doesn't know if he has an answer. Finally, he speaks. "I don't know if I do." She nods, like she expected that answer, like she already knew. "I don't either." They stand in silence, 10 seconds. 20. Then Marilyn does something unexpected. She pulls a small piece of paper from her purse. A pen. She writes something, hands it to Elvis. If you ever need to talk to someone who understands, call this number. Elvis takes the paper, looks at it. A phone number. Beverly Hills prefix. He looks up. Why? Because, she says, we're the same, and there aren't many of us. Later that night, Elvis sits in his dressing room, alone. The paper with Marilyn's number sits on the table. He stares at it, picks it up, puts it down, picks it up again. He thinks about what she said. We're the same. Is that true? He looks in the mirror. Black hair, blue eyes, the face that sold millions of records, filled movie theaters, made teenage girls scream. But is that him? Or is that Elvis Presley TM? The product, the brand, the thing Colonel Parker sells. He thinks about Marilyn, about the girl he met today, not the screen goddess, not the sex symbol, the person underneath. Tired, scared, trapped, he sees himself in her, and it terrifies him, because if she's trapped, then maybe he is too. He picks up the phone, dials. It rings. Once, twice, 3 times. Hello? Her voice. Real voice. No performance. It's Elvis. Long pause. I'm glad you called. What happened next wasn't recorded. No transcript exists. No one was listening in. But we know they talked. For 2 hours and 17 minutes. Phone records from the Paramount backlot confirm it. June 19, 1960. 10:47 p.m. to 1:04 a.m. 2 hours, 17 minutes. 2 people, 2 icons, 2 prisoners of fame. What did they talk about? We can only piece it together. From what happened after, from the choices Elvis made, from the doors he closed, from the invitations he refused, from the Hollywood path he abandoned. But there was one person who knew, who heard pieces of it, who saw the aftermath. Joe Esposito, Elvis's best friend, member of the Memphis Mafia. He was there that night, waiting outside the dressing room. He couldn't hear the conversation, but he saw Elvis afterward, and what he saw changed his understanding of his best friend. Joe Esposito's account comes from a 1989 interview. 29 years after that night. He's sitting in his living room, Los Angeles. The interviewer asks about Elvis and Marilyn. Joe leans back, lights a cigarette, takes a long drag. Then he speaks. That night changed him. I saw it happen, the interviewer presses. How? Joe thinks, choosing his words carefully. Before that call, Elvis still believed he could make it work. Hollywood, the movies, real acting. He thought if he worked hard enough, proved himself enough, they'd let him do serious roles. He pauses. After that call, he knew better. What did Marilyn tell him? Joe shakes his head. He never said exactly. But I remember him coming out of that room at 1 a.m., white as a sheet. He looked at me and said, Joe, we're all just products. That's all we'll ever be to them. Who's them? Joe stubs out his cigarette. Hollywood, the studios, the men in suits, the ones who decide what we do, how we do it, who we become. The interviewer asks the question everyone wants answered. Did Elvis and Marilyn ever meet again? Joe's answer is immediate. No, never. That was it. One meeting, one phone call, that was all. Why not? Joe looks directly at the camera, because they both knew. If they got close, if they became friends, it would just be 2 drowning people holding hands. Neither could save the other, but the impact didn't end there. 3 weeks later, July 12, 1960. Elvis receives an invitation, hand-delivered to Graceland. Return address, the White House, Washington, D.C. Inside a formal request, President John F. Kennedy, senator at the time campaigning for president, wants to meet Elvis. Photo opportunity, young voters, rock and roll demographic. It's a golden ticket. Every star in Hollywood wants White House access. Frank Sinatra has it. Dean Martin has it. Sammy Davis Jr. is fighting for it. And now Elvis has the invitation. Colonel Parker is ecstatic. He sees dollar signs, prestige, legitimacy. Elvis, this is it. This is what we've been working toward. Elvis holds the invitation. Thick paper, presidential seal, everything he should want. Everything he's worked for. He thinks about Marilyn, about their conversation, about what she told him. She had mentioned JFK, not by name, but Elvis understood. She talked about powerful men, about how they collect stars like trophies, about how they use you, photograph you, display you, then discard you. Elvis looks at Colonel Parker, then at the invitation. He makes his decision. Tell them no. Colonel Parker's face goes red. What? Tell them I appreciate the invitation. But no. Elvis, you can't be serious. Elvis stands, walks to the window, looks out at Graceland, his sanctuary, his prison. I'm serious. No politicians, no photo ops, no handshake deals, but... Elvis turns. His voice is firm. I said no. Colonel Parker sputters, argues, pleads, threatens. Elvis doesn't budge. The invitation is declined. Politely, respectfully, but firmly. Elvis Presley will not be a prop, not even for the future President of the United States. September 1960. Elvis finishes G.I. Blues. The movie is a commercial success, makes millions. Critics dismiss it, call it fluff. Call it a vehicle. They're right. It is a vehicle. Elvis knows it. But he also knows something else now. It's all vehicles. Every movie, every role, every script the studio sends him. He's not an actor. He's a product, being packaged and sold. Over the next 7 years, Elvis makes 27 movies, musical comedies, formulaic plots, girl, guitar, sunset, repeat. The critics savage him. Fans start to question. The movies become a joke, even to Elvis. But here's what people don't understand. Elvis chose this. Not consciously. Not with a grand plan. But after that night with Marilyn, he stopped fighting. He stopped believing Hollywood would let him be a real actor. He stopped believing the system could be beaten. So he took their money, made their movies, and counted the days until he could get back to music. Back to what mattered. Back to what was real. August 5th, 1962, early morning. Elvis is in Memphis, Graceland, breakfast room, reading the newspaper. The headline stops him cold. Marilyn Monroe found dead, apparent suicide, age 36. Elvis reads the article, every word, then reads it again. His hands shake. Coffee spills onto the table. He doesn't notice. Joe Esposito walks in, sees Elvis, sees the newspaper. Boss? Elvis doesn't respond. Joe sits down across from him. You okay? Elvis finally looks up. His eyes are red, not from crying, from something else, from recognition, from understanding, from fear. She knew. She told me. And she was right. Joe doesn't ask what he means. He already knows. The two men sit in silence, the newspaper between them, the headline screaming. Another star gone, another icon consumed, another person who couldn't survive their own fame. For the next 15 years, Elvis never publicly spoke about Marilyn Monroe, never mentioned their meeting, never referenced their conversation. But those close to him knew. They saw the change. They understood what that night represented. A turning point, a moment of clarity, a realization that fame wasn't freedom. It was a prison, and the bars were made of gold. Priscilla Presley, in her 1985 memoir, writes about finding something in Elvis's personal safe. After his death, August 1977, while sorting through his belongings, a small piece of paper, yellowed with age, folded carefully, a phone number, Beverly Hills prefix, and a name written in feminine handwriting. Marilyn. Priscilla doesn't understand its significance at first. Then someone tells her the story, the 1960 meeting, the 2-hour phone call, the warning, the prophecy that came true. Priscilla breaks down because she realizes Elvis kept that paper for 17 years, through marriages, through moves, through everything. He kept it, a reminder, a warning, a connection to someone who understood. Quick thought, have you ever kept something from someone you only met once because they changed how you saw the world? Drop a comment. The legacy of that 20-minute meeting extends beyond Elvis and Marilyn. It becomes a lens, a way to understand Elvis's career choices, his retreat from Hollywood, his return to live performance, his 1968 comeback special. That show, broadcast December 3rd, 1968, is different. Raw, real, Elvis in black leather, no gimmicks, no costumes, no formula, just him, a guitar, and the truth. It's the opposite of everything Hollywood wanted from him. It's a rejection of the product, a reclamation of the person. Some historians trace this decision back to 1960, back to Marilyn's warning, back to the realization that you can't fight the system, but you can refuse to be fully consumed by it. You can keep something for yourself. In 2010, a researcher at the University of Memphis discovers something in the archives, in Elvis's personal correspondence, a letter written in 1975, never sent, addressed to no one, just thoughts on paper, in Elvis's handwriting. One passage stands out. I met someone once who told me we were the same, two people playing parts we couldn't escape. She was right. She got out the only way she could. I'm still here, still playing the part, but I understand now why she did it. Sometimes the performance is too heavy to carry. The researchers debate. Who was he writing about? Some say Anne Margaret, some say Priscilla, but those who know the full story understand. He was writing about Marilyn, 15 years after their conversation, 13 years after her death. He was still carrying it, still thinking about it, still understanding it. Today, both are gone. Marilyn, August 5th, 1962, age 36. Elvis, August 16th, 1977, age 42. Two icons, two legends, two people who understood the cost of fame in ways most never will. Their meeting was brief, 20 minutes on a soundstage, a 2-hour phone call, that's all. But the impact rippled through both their lives. For Marilyn, it was confirmation. She wasn't alone in her struggle. Someone else understood. Someone else saw through the performance. For Elvis, it was a warning, a glimpse into his own future, a realization that fame would demand everything and might not let you survive. In 2018, the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures opens an exhibition, Icons, The Price of Fame. It features artifacts from Hollywood's most famous stars, Marilyn's white dress from The 7-Year Itch, James Dean's red jacket from Rebel Without a Cause, and something unexpected, a small piece of yellowed paper, on loan from the Presley estate, a phone number, a name in feminine handwriting. Marilyn. The placard explains its significance. This paper, kept by Elvis Presley from 1960 until his death in 1977, represents one of Hollywood's most poignant connections. Two stars, both at the height of their fame, both struggling with its burden, found brief understanding in each other. This phone number was never called again after their initial conversation, but its preservation suggests how deeply their encounter affected Presley's understanding of fame, Hollywood, and the cost of being an icon. Visitors stand in front of it. Some take photos, some just stare. Most don't fully understand, but a few do. A few recognize what it represents. Not romance, not scandal, not the tabloid story, but something more profound, a moment of genuine human connection between two people who had everything the world could offer, except freedom, except peace, except the ability to just be. The question people always ask is, what if? What if Elvis had said yes to JFK? What if he had pursued serious acting? What if he had fought harder against Colonel Parker? What if Marilyn had lived? But these questions miss the point. The system wasn't designed to allow those outcomes. Hollywood in the 1960s had a formula. Stars were products. Products were marketed. Marketing required control. Control required compliance. Elvis and Marilyn understood this. They understood they were valuable as long as they stayed in their lanes. Sex symbol, teen idol, don't deviate, don't challenge, don't become too real. That 20-minute meeting was a recognition of this reality. And the 2-hour phone call was a processing of it. 2 people, 2 products, 2 human beings, trying to find themselves inside the packaging. Final thought. In 1997, 20 years after Elvis's death, Larry Geller publishes a book. If I Can Dream, Elvis's own story. Geller was Elvis's hairdresser. But more than that, a spiritual advisor, a confidant. In the book, he recounts a conversation from 1976, 1 year before Elvis's death. They're discussing fame, the burden of it. Elvis suddenly brings up Marilyn Monroe. You know, I only met her once, for about 20 minutes, but she understood. She knew what this does to you. Geller asks what this is. Elvis is quiet for a long moment. Finally, he answers. The thing where everyone knows your name but nobody knows you. Where you're surrounded by people but completely alone. Where you have everything except the one thing that matters. Yourself. Geller asks if Elvis regrets his fame. Elvis shakes his head. No. The music, the connection with fans, that's real. That matters. But everything else, Hollywood, the movies, that's the part that eats you alive. Marilyn knew that. She tried to warn me. I just wish I'd understood sooner. If you've made it this far, take a moment to subscribe. These stories matter. These truths matter. The human beings behind the icons matter. Drop a comment if this story affected you. If you've ever felt the weight of others' expectations. If you've ever hidden who you really are, you're not alone. Elvis and Marilyn weren't alone either. They just couldn't always see it. The last word goes to Elvis himself, from a 1972 press conference. Madison Square Garden. A reporter asks if he has any regrets about his Hollywood career. Elvis smiles. That public smile, the performance. Then the smile fades. And for just a moment, the mask drops. I learned something important early on. You can't be yourself and be a star, not really. You can choose one or the other. I chose to be a star. But I always knew what I gave up. Someone told me that once, someone who understood. And they were right. The reporter tries to follow up. Who told you that? Elvis's smile returns, the mask back in place. Doesn't matter now. Let's talk about the music. But for those 5 seconds between question and deflection, Elvis's face told the whole story. Recognition, regret, understanding, and a deep, abiding respect for the one person who saw through it all. In 20 minutes, on a soundstage, in 1960, and unfortunately they don't make men like Elvis Presley anymore.